Oh, there. Okay, very good. Well, first of all, let me thank you for inviting me to be part of this grand opening day of OpenLab. It's a great pleasure to be here, and it's also a great pleasure to share with you this great day in the life of the OpenLab. All the more that the OpenLab is such a brilliant application to everything that I've been preaching for about 17, 18 years now. So I couldn't be happier than that. I'm also very happy for being the last in this brilliant cast of speakers, because after having listened to all these fascinating, exciting accounts of innovators and technologists, my question is, yes, but who is going to train the people to become the new technologists and the new innovators? And that brings me to the role of the university as the institutions that are called to provide these new generations of workforce, of thinkers, of policymakers, of technologists and innovators all together. And this brings me to the Entrepreneurial University, a concept that I'm sure you are familiar with, as Sweden has been one of the countries that has embraced the triple helix and the concept of entrepreneurial universities, probably one of the closest countries where the concept has been implemented, especially with the help of Vinnova. So now I'm going to talk about the triple helix and its direct application, the entrepreneurial universities, but in a slightly different way, from a slightly different perspective, putting it in the context of these new industrial revolutions. You will probably say, oh, what are you talking about? We are just struggling to implement the entrepreneurial university as we know it, and now you're calling us to move on to the next generation? Yes, because things are not holding on, they are not waiting for us. And there are lots of things in the happening in industry which call for a rapid synchronization of what's going on in the higher education process as well. So in a nutshell, we generally recognize the entrepreneurial university as being the sort of latest stage in the evolution of a century-long institution, the university as an institution. And now we characterize that as a coexistence, a joining of a third mission to the traditional missions of education and research. Now, generally what we understand by the third mission is the sort of combination between different activities: technology transfer, research commercialization, regional development, service to society. Some countries call that engagement, other countries call that civic innovation and so on. Now, what's going to happen, these new industrial revolutions are very likely to produce deep changes in all this range of activities that we now recognize as being typical to an entrepreneurial university. Starting from these joint research projects, contract research, joint consortia and so on. Research commercialization through patents and licenses. All sorts of hybrid structure, interface structures, at the interface of university and industries, like technology transfer offices, science parks, business incubators, startup accelerators, and so on. Spin-off formation, strategic partnerships, and venture capital for funding different sorts of innovative projects in these spin-offs. Involvement in regional and local development, entrepreneurship education for students, and professional education. And I'm sure you are involved in one or more of these activities, so this is not news for you. But how is this going to change? What I mean by these new industrial revolutions is actually a sort of combination of two trends that have been more and more present over the last few years, 3, 4, 5 years or so. Starting with this third industrial revolution concept promoted by Jeremy Rifkin. This is basically about the combination of renewable energy and IT in order to restructure the way we think about the energy system and energy resources. You have here what the author defined as the 5 pillars of the third industrial revolution. A shift to renewable energy, creation of renewable energy with the help of green micropower plants, and then storing this renewable energy in hydrogen and other storage technologies, and producing and storing this energy and then selling it through the internet as a sort of new energy grid. And then, with a direct application in transportation, shifting the nature of our transportation fleet to electric cars. This hasn't happened overnight. It's been the result of a gradual accumulation of developments, the so-called Internet of Things, interconnecting, placing smart sensors and then interconnecting different devices and communicating over the internet. General Electric's industrial internet concept, which is about integration, conversion of intelligent machines, advanced analytics, big data, and people, changes in the way people work. And also IBM has come from behind very intensively with the smarter planet concept, of which one component is the smarter city technologies. They propose different technology solutions to different city councils, Rio de Janeiro, Taipei, Tucson, Arizona, Dutch water system, and so on. So very intelligent technical solutions for solving different societal needs. A successor wave basically started in 2011, originated from Germany's federal government high-tech strategy for computerization of industry, is this Industry 4.0. Industrie 4.0, as they call it. Or maybe that's Dutch. I think you call it differently in German. Okay, it's been already some massive investment in that, about 400 million euros. And this is a concept that operates on the basis of notions like cyber-physical systems that communicate among them through the Internet of Things and provide new range of services through this Internet of Services. Basically, it's about integration of automation processes with industrial, with business processes, and then with consequences on work, the way people work. It's all about smart products. Yes, okay. Smart products that have the capacity to self-configure, self-diagnose problems, big gains in terms of maintenance and downtime and so on. And there are also some important projects that have been funded by the Germans. Now, looking deeper into this Industry 4.0, there has been this, I think, very interesting classification of countries' capacities to meet the challenges of this new industrial revolution. And I've chosen this graph just to show you that Sweden is right there in the front runners quadrant, which means together with Germany, Ireland, and Austria, it's considered to be one of the 4 countries that have the best industrial capacity to promote, to be at the forefront of this new industrial revolution. In the implementation, the roadmap towards implementing these changes includes a very important step of cooperation and communication with public and private partners, with networks and innovative clusters. And this is where the next generation entrepreneurial university will play a key role. And Ellie, you have asked earlier, I think, $1 million question. Do you think it's time for us to change our education system? I wish you had asked me that. I would have said a resounding yes. And I will tell you why. We will see changes in all these 3 missions of the university that I mentioned earlier. Let's take the education, because now we need to change the mindsets, as you rightly pointed out, but we need to change the curricula, we need to change the methods, we need to change the content. And we also need to change a bit the actors, the traditional actors that are involved in this teaching and learning process, by involving more the industry people, those IT and engineers who will provide these new machines of the future. I know that for many of us, all this Industry 4.0 can sound like, I don't know, science fiction or Star Trek Next Generation. But these things are already happening. And if we don't realize the urgent need of synchronizing the entrepreneurial university processes, education, research, and entrepreneurship with what's going on with this paradigm shift in industry, then we will be penalized for the next 10, 15 years at least. So changes in curricula, changes in the nature and the flows of students that come in those so-called STEM disciplines. New relevant learning content, didactic methods, methodological approaches, and here we talk a lot about MOOCs and blended learning. More placements, more internships, more advanced study courses, and new qualifications in some business areas, and especially these dual degrees. For instance, Dr. Shetty was talking about health and technology. We have law and technology, we have business and technology, and that involves a stronger cooperation between business schools and engineering departments. Again, something that's quite difficult to do in some universities. It's also a need for social skills and more interdisciplinary skills and transferable skills and so on. When we're talking about research, probably the key word here is interdisciplinarity, and thanks, Dr. Weinberg, for talking about that, because design thinking is about interdisciplinarity. And it's also about the emergence of new research areas that are really coming at the intersection of these old and new research domains. How do we look at the new work organization ways, the new process design methods? How do these traditional manufacturing processes combine with the new smart ways of doing things? We also need a better and a more integrated view of strategy, business, and systems. And finally, in the third mission, this is probably the most difficult to achieve, because here not only we need more startups, more innovative firms, we also need bigger and closer integration of the university in these clusters, which allow a better and a stronger circulation of ideas and communication among people. Better financing, that's a key issue. But speaking of mindsets, it's also necessary to change the social perception of the entrepreneur, the social role of an entrepreneur. Encourage risk-taking and the attitude to failure, and that is a Europe problem, it's a Europe-wide problem. I just wanted to throw out a few things. We will have the chance, I hope, to discuss this more in the panel, just to provoke a little bit and seed some plans for future discussion. Yeah. Thank you.
I know that this talk of a change of our educational system, it's been going on, like I said, it's been going on for a long time.
Yes.
And yet change is very slow. Why is that? What is it in our mindset that needs to change?
You know, we are still very much used to talk about institutions. I mean, our views about innovation are still very much based in an institutional view. The role of individuals is still very much neglected. Institutional change happens very slowly. Universities are very inertial institutions, and governments who are supposed to promote that are even more slow.
But do you think we could do more? I mean, I know that often the leadership of the university, they might be, you know, waiting for the government to come with, you know, tell us what to do. Could they do a lot of change without waiting for the government?
Not only they could, but they should. They should, and Europe has to catch up a little bit on that bottom-up approach, because very often we look up to the government to take the first step and then initiate change, but that change sometimes comes 1, 2, 3, 4 years later and may be outdated by the time the policy has come out on the market. And yeah, there is a lot of things to do that could be done by the university leaders and also by the practitioners and the staff and the students. You know, we are talking a lot about the staff and the tech transfer managers and so on, but we neglect the role of students in creating new startups, the role of students in promoting change, the role of graduate students as alumni, and then who can come back and support those processes in the university as investors and so on.
I mentioned that youth unemployment, and here in Sweden, like in many countries, we have actually a problem with that. I mean, how much of that would be solved if the universities were more connected to the corporations and the industry?
Well, we cannot quantify that for now, but it's clear that if we do not ensure this stronger industry-driven agenda to our educational processes, it will not be possible or easy to solve the youth unemployment problem. There will still be huge mismatches on the labor market, and we will still have 47% unemployment among graduates, which is a shame.
Thank you so much, Marina Ranga. We will hear more from you in the panel session later.